Good evening. Welcome to the Falls Township Board of Supervisors meeting for Monday, August 16th. We'll begin with the salute to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. At the start of our meeting, we're going to introduce and consider a resolution for the hiring of Timothy Bishop and Dean Stecklair, 2 police officers. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Palmer?
Here.
Mr. Galloway?
Here.
Mr. Boraski?
Here.
Mr. Rocco is not here, and I am here. Mr. Rocco is away on family business. Chief Whitney, you want to take us through the 2 officers we hired?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Timothy Bishop is a resident of Philadelphia. He earned an associate's degree in accounting from the University of Maryland. He's been a Philadelphia police officer since 2019. Timothy was an active duty United States Marine from 2013 to 2018, after which he was honorably discharged with the rank of sergeant. Dean Stecklair is a resident of Northampton Township. Dean is married and has 3 children. He earned an associate's degree in applied science from Thaddeus Stevens College. Dean has been an Amtrak police officer since 2010. Prior to his employment with Amtrak, Dean was a volunteer firefighter as well as a union carpenter with the Philadelphia Carpenters Union. The hiring of these 2 officers keeps us at our authorized strength of 53.
All right. Any questions or comments from board members? Mr. Boraski?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Palmer?
No questions.
And I have none. I guess they're not here tonight?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Is there a resolution? We'll do these individually. For Dean Stecklair. Resolution number, Matt?
Resolution number 2021-24.
24. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And then resolution 24 or 25 for Timothy Bishop. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Congratulations to both officers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board.
Item number 1, public comment. Is there any public comment tonight?
No public comment on the line.
And there's no public comment here? Okay. Item number 2, certificate of appropriateness, 10 Yardley Avenue. 4-foot high picket fence installed between the garage deck. We have a drawing in front of us. This was approved or not approved. We're approved by the harbor board. Is there any questions from board members or comments? Mr. Palmer?
No, I find it appropriate.
Mr. Galloway?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Boraski?
No questions.
And I have none. Is there any public comment needed? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Item number 3, another certificate of appropriateness, 30 Lacrosse Street, install a whole house generator. Another one is straightforward. This was approved as well. Any questions or comments from board members? Mr. Palmer?
No comment.
Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Boraski?
No questions.
And I have none. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right.
Mr. Dents,
Yes, sir.
I just abstained from this, that's all.
All right. Item number 4, Lincoln Highway Storage LLC, preliminary and final land development, 957 Lincoln Highway. This is a self-storage facility in an odd part of town. It was a abandoned car dealer for at least the past 25 years, I believe. And it's a place that's been in disarray for a long time. So this use. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Tyler Prime with the firm of Prime and Tuvell.
I represent the applicant. As indicated, the property is located at 957 Lincoln Highway. And as you said correctly, it was a car dealership, a dilapidated car dealership for as long back as we can tell. We're proposing to demolish the existing buildings to construct a multi-storage self-storage facility. There's related site improvements, parking, lighting, landscaping, et cetera. By way of procedural history, we have, the zoning board had previously granted a use variance to permit the facility, as well as associated dimensional variances. We had the number of principal buildings, building coverage, front yard setbacks, and the parking setbacks. We have as much or as little information as the board's pleasure or request. We have, our engineer is here. I have the applicants, representatives from the applicant. Whatever you'd like us to do, we could go through the project, provide an overview, whatever's the board's pleasure.
I want to defer to Mr. Jones, our engineer. Do you want to take us through the highlights of this, Joe? Mr. Jones?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Two 30,000 square footprint buildings totaling 120,000 square feet, and two 15,000 square feet pull-up storage units. We've worked with the applicant over the last 6 months. The applicant's worked with TOFA to resolve some issues that they had. They've successfully done that. We have a couple of outstanding technical comments that we're working with the applicant's engineer on. Presently, we feel the project's in a position to be recommended for approval at this time. But it is on Old Lincoln Highway, and it is kind of a dilapidated site that this will, enhance for sure. And as I said, the applicant's worked with us over quite some time resolving the technical issues.
No major obstacles for them?
No.
Any questions from board members? Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, just for the public, where exactly is this on Route 1 by? So the public's aware.
You know where it is, right?
Yeah, I know where it is, but
I guess the easy way to explain would be parallel to the superhighway down past Truck Smart and Michael's Restaurant. You'll see
Okay.
the old car dealer. And then it would dead end the road into where Snipes Farm is, basically,
Right, it's like
by 13. So,
2.5 miles. Right
yeah, it's not, when we talk about Lincoln Highway, it's not out front
Yes.
here. It's down towards
off
Morrisville.
the superhighway.
Off the superhighway, yeah.
Okay, that's all.
Mr. Galloway?
No questions, all looks good.
Mr. Boraski?
No questions. Great location. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a good, something there finally is going to be good for this town. So I want to go with Mr. Jones and have confidence in Mr. Takita to make sure it's done right. Is there any public comment needed? Any public comment online?
No public comment online.
All right, and this is resolution 26?
Yes.
All right, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. All right,
Thank you, Mr.
congratulations. Yep, thank you. Item number 5, Northpoint Development LLC, Phase 3, Preliminary and Final Land Development. Mr. Toadvine.
Good evening, Mr. Dents. Thanks for having us here tonight. So I'm here on behalf of North Point Falls Industrial LLC, the applicant, and just by way of correction, it's listed on the agenda as Phase 3. They really mean building number 3.
Right.
We're still in Phase 1. So it's building number 3. It's approximately 1,011,703 square feet in size. I believe we have Eric Clace along with Jeremy Michael on Zoom. Jeremy Michael's with Northpoint, Eric Clace, our engineer. The last review letter from Mr. Jones is dated August 9th, 2021. You'll see that we're requesting 5 waivers. A letter was submitted concerning those waivers, but I'd be more than happy to go through them or have Mr. Clace go through the waivers if you so desire.
This is pretty straightforward. It's the usual waivers. Do you guys want to hear all the waivers, or have you read them yourselves? Any questions?
I'm fine. I have no questions for them.
No, I think we're good.
Okay, thank you.
It's approved by our planning commission, the Bucks County Planning Commission, and everyone else.
That's correct. And other than the waivers, all the other items in Mr. Jones's review letters will comply.
Right. Any other comments from you, Mr. Jones?
No, Mr. Chairman, the plans are in good shape.
Mr. Takita or Mr. Clark?
No questions.
All right, and this will be resolution number 27. Is there a motion?
I make the motion to approve.
Second it.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Yep, congratulations.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Item number 6, Mr. Clark, you want to take us through this?
Yes, Mr. Dent, I believe Chris Gibbons, the financial advisor for Concord Public, for TOFA from Concord Public Finance, is on via Zoom this evening. Is that accurate?
Bring him in now.
No, there's no one
He's
there?
bringing him in now.
Okay, bring him in. I'm old, man.
Hand grenade.
Oh, am I on?
Yes,
Yes,
you
you're
are.
on.
I'm sorry. I was waiting and I couldn't see anything. Sorry. Good evening. I don't know how far along you got without me dialing in there. My name's Chris Gibbons. I'm with Concord Public Financial Advisors. We work as the financial advisor to the Township of Falls Authority. What's before you this evening is something that you've seen in the past with me anyway, in 2016, when the township guaranteed the debt issued by the Township of Falls Authority in 16. They also, the township also guaranteed the debt of the authority of 2011. So the authority is now getting around to taking advantage of lower interest rates and refinancing the existing debt of both the 2011 and 2016 bonds. And part of the process is to enact a guarantee ordinance similar to what was done in the last two financings. In this case, since it isn't refinancing, it actually is a reduction of the liability of the township, since the financing will present and provide significant savings to the authority over time. Right now, the projection of savings is approximately $250,000 per year. So the enactment of this ordinance this evening would be to guarantee the debt in the maximum principal amount of $24,365,000. I expect the number to be lower, but because we're just working with kind of parameters at this point, I estimated it on a high number. I could ask for any questions at this point, or is there any additional color you would like me to provide?
Anything you want to add, Mr. Clark?
No, only that, as Mr. Gibbons pointed out, the township has previously guaranteed the debt that is being refinanced. Since it is being refinanced, our exposure, as you would, is less. And I think it's important to note that the Township of Falls Authority is a component unit of the township, and by guaranteeing them, guaranteeing these loans, where it enables them to get a better interest rate. And even if we didn't guarantee it, if the Township of Falls Authority for some reason was unable to repay the loans, we would have to repay it anyway because they're a component unit.
Right. I know we've done this at least a couple times.
We have done it a couple times before, and as I said, the two loans that are being refinanced right now are both guaranteed by the township.
Any questions or comments from board members, Mr. Palmer?
These are loans, not bonds, correct?
Actually, one is a loan, one is a bond.
Okay.
They were both issued as bonds under the authority's indenture, but one bond is actually a bank loan. Another is a bond issue. The 2016 is a bank loan. The 2011 is a bond.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Galloway, any questions or comments?
No, it's all very clear. Thank you.
Mr. Boraski?
No, thank you.
All right, is there any public comment needed? We have one hand, Mr. Batiste. Come up.
No public comment online.
All right, is there a motion to open public comment?
So be it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 So be it.
So to be clear, we are not actually financing the bond or the loan. We are just acting as a cosigner,
So to speak, yeah.
Yes.
so to speak? Okay. But the question is, has anybody done due diligence on the financial feasibility of this? In other words, how stable is TOFA? Does anybody actually know? Because if something comes up, like say with Horsham in the water situation, or some problem really develops with the sewer lines, that could put us on the hook for quite a bit of money. So I just want to make sure that they're actually financially in a good spot, that we're not really risking our funds.
The authority.
I can
like-
answer that question.
Go ahead.
TOFA is actually in a very good financial position. They just finished another successful financial year, 2020. They now have a net position of about $3.2 million, which has actually grown significantly over the last several years, as TOFA has been able to manage its finances. I think the other important thing to note, and you're asking good questions, but I think the other important point to note is what the solicitor said it earlier. Even if other things come up, the township already is guaranteeing the TOFA's debt. So it really wouldn't be any different than what the circumstances are now, except actually the liability to the township is less because the guarantee will be on less debt service than is currently outstanding.
Okay, so they have only 3 million to back up the 24 million they're asking for.
Well, the net position is essentially kind of a,
Yeah.
if you will, a fund balance, which actually for a authority of $12 million annual budget, that's a good number. That's a good number.
Okay.
Any other public comment needed? No? Is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, is there a motion to adopt the ordinance?
I'll make the motion to adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. 2021-11, thank you. Item number 7, consider authorization for advertisement repealing ordinance chapter 21, Community and Economic Development Commission. We are repealing the current CEDC, and our goal is to start a, go ahead, Mr. Takita, right? Am I right?
Yes, we're looking at creating, getting rid of the Community and Economic Development Commission and creating a community or an Economic Development Committee, which would have more authority and would better benefit the township.
Yeah. Mr. Takita has quite a bit of experience in this background, from his background in Ben Salem. Are there any questions from board members? Mr. Palmer?
No questions.
Mr. Galloway?
No, it's a good idea. No questions.
Mr. Boraski?
No questions, thank you.
And I have none. Is there any public comment needed? No public comment. Is there a motion to advertise?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Item number 8, consider authorization for advertisement repealing and replacing ordinance chapter 206, records in its entirety. Ms. Gallagher, you want to take us through this one real quick?
Certainly. As the agenda item notes, this is a comprehensive revision of Chapter 206, which is the Township Duty Tow Ordinance. This would restructure the way that the township does handle any kind of tows that come out of the police department. So if there's an accident or a disabled vehicle of any kind, this ordinance governs how those vehicles are towed from the site. So this is, there's a lot of things in here from our prior ordinance, but this is a complete revision. We're working with the police department to finalize all the details that are in this ordinance. But we still have, prohibitions on cruising and things like that, so that we can make sure we're monitoring the individuals that we contract with to perform these services. But this would be entering into a contract rather than doing the annual licensing.
Any questions from board members? Mr. Palmer?
No questions.
Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Boraski?
No questions.
And I have none. Is there a motion to advertise this, repealing this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh, I'm sorry. Any public comment needed? Thank you. No public comment. There was a motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Item number 9. Ms. Gallagher, do you want to go through this again?
Certainly. So this is an ordinance, this is ready for adoption this evening. It has been advertised as required in the municipalities planning code. This would amend the zoning ordinance to codify a lot of the outdoor dining provisions that were essentially tested during the beginning of the pandemic period and through the current time. It does remove the ability to do things like have tables set up in the middle of parking lots, but it does allow a lot more permissive outdoor dining uses with certain restrictions that are set forth in the ordinance. A lot of them were pulled from the existing provisions of the RD1 district. We reviewed this with township staff, including the police department, and all appears to be in order for adoption this evening.
All right. Any questions for board members? Mr. Palmer?
No.
Mr. Galloway?
No question.
Mr. Boraski?
Lauren, just curious when this would go into effect in this ordinance?
5 days from today.
Okay, thank you.
Right, and I have none. Any public comment needed?
None.
None. Is there a motion, ordinance 2021-12?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Item number 10, Chief Whitney, consider quote for firearms purchase for the police department.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What's before you is my recommendation that we proceed with a purchase that we, by and large, budgeted for in our 2021 capital budget. We had planned on replacing our duty pistols, which are Smith & Wesson M&P 40 caliber pistols. This year, they're at the end of their 5-year service life. However, we looked at our entire inventory of weapons, and in addition to the Smith & Wesson M&P 40 caliber pistols, we took a look at our patrol rifles, which are AR-15 type 223 caliber rifles that we started to phase into service after 9/11. Most of them are around that old, and although they've been sporadically repaired in that 20-year period, we have an opportunity here to replace all of them with the pistols with kind of one trade-in deal. So I can account for that in our 2021 capital budget, and what's before you is my recommendation to proceed with that purchase.
All right, and this is something we budgeted for except for the rifles.
Yes.
Any questions from board members? Mr. Palmer?
As far as the old weapons, you did mention they get traded in, and I see there's a dollar amount there. So does that fit, or when we get rid of property, I forget what their law is for that, for trade-ins?
Yes, it does. The way this transaction is structured, it is consistent with the law. And one thing I just wanted to mention, Chief Whitney was getting us all the documentation from CoStars, but we haven't had a chance to review it as of yet. So we'd only ask that this motion be made pending solicitor review, so we can make sure all the CoStar documents are in order.
That's all I have, thank you.
Mr. Galloway, any questions or comments?
No, it sounds good. Thank you.
Mr. Boraski?
No questions.
And I have none. So is there a motion to approve this pending the solicitor review?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right. Motion made and seconded. Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 11, consider agreement between Falls Township and Lower Makefield Township regarding Elbow Lane. We're going to table this one until we get some more information from Lower Makefield. So is there a motion to table?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Takes us to item number 12. Consider agreement between Falls Township and the Falls Township Soccer Club for general maintenance of soccer fields. Mr. Andrews from Parks and Rec is here. You want to explain to us what this is exactly?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. Generally, what this is nothing really is changing necessarily. We've kind of had a gentleman's agreement, working relationship with the soccer club. Nothing's really changing here. We're just trying to formalize it and put it on paper. So there's something in our records, to go back on. The soccer club does a great job in maintaining the fields. That's not really going to change. The public works staff does a lot of work also. We just wanted to put this, pen to paper type of thing and, have something in our files to go off of. That's generally what it is.
All right, anything to add to that, Ms. Gallagher? Are you involved in this?
I was, and Mr. Andrews summarized it perfectly.
All right, any questions for Mr. Anderson or Ms. Gallagher from Mr. Palmer?
No.
Mr.
No.
Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Boraski?
No questions.
And this doesn't give us, this doesn't give anybody ownership of the park, right? The soccer club or anyone else. It's still public use.
Correct. It's still under our control.
Okay. Any public comment needed? No public comment? Is there a
No
motion?
public comment.
That's loud. Is there any motion? Is there a motion? I'm sorry.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, Mr. Andrews.
Thank you.
That takes us to the minutes from July 19th. Any comments or corrections needed from board members? Excellent minutes as always, Mrs. Poulin. I guess it's really hard now with half of us here live and half of us zooming in. And Mr. Palmer, everybody's good?
Everything's good on my end.
Is there a motion
Yeah,
to
no.
accept the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. That takes us to the engineer's report. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The engineer's report for the month of July shows that there were 2 new land developments submitted. One of them is a minor building addition, a couple of minor building additions at the First Ukrainian Evangelical Baptist Church on Trenton Road. The second land development is the renovation of the facility, the gas station and convenience store at the corner of New Falls and Hood Boulevard, to be a car wash with the remaining convenience center. So those 2 projects were submitted and both will be before the Planning Commission next week. In terms of the updates under the land development section, all I have tonight is that the Raising Cane's project was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission last month and will be before the Board of Supervisors in September. In terms of the earth disturbances, I will report to Mr. Galloway that we did talk to the engineer for the county Lake Caroline trail restoration and spring restoration project. That was kind of in limbo due to the COVID pandemic, according to the engineer that I spoke with from Gilmore Associates, but we did dust it off, and we have a meeting of the minds on what technical information they have to supply to us for us to be comfortable with the floodplain implications. So I think expect to see action on that in the next month's engineer's report. It will likely be approved by then, and then construction will ensue shortly after that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. The Macaulay residence pool is the Macaulay residence single family construction is under construction. And that's all for the earth disturbances. For the township projects and the road programs in particular, the 2020 road program is now substantially complete. Hedgerow Woods has been, with one restoration completed. And the Burgess Manor section is now substantially complete with just one restoration remaining. Everything looks good. We also have to deal with the mill and overlay sections of the roads that adjoin our neighboring communities, Lower Makefield and Morrisville. And that was part of the tabled item. So that will be, I think, finalized by September, and the mill and overlay improvements to those roads will be completed then, at which time the project will be complete. The lawn restoration will occur in September because that's when it makes sense to do the seeding and the sod and the watering. Due to just weather, we're going to wait the last couple of hot weeks of August out. All residents are satisfied with the work. We have a couple of issues to follow up with, but I'd say by and large, most folks are pretty happy. And in terms of the 2021 road program, we are starting Elderberry reconstruction late this week. We met with the contractor last week, and we're on the same page with timing and lay down areas, et cetera. And so it's gonna start very quick. And in terms of the Pinewood Drive reconstruction for next year, we anticipate being out to bid by December, January for an early construction season next year in 2022.
That's it? Is that it, Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir. I apologize. Yep.
All right. Any questions or comments from Mr. Jones from board members?
And again, I just want to thank Mr. Jones for following up on the Lake Caroline project. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jones. That takes us to item 15, bill list. We have a bill list in the amount of $1,754,695.60. A little over $1.2 million is payroll and benefits, about $190,000 in engineering fees and legal fees. Any questions or comments on the bill list from board members? Mr. Palmer?
No, straightforward.
Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Boraski?
No questions.
All right, is there a motion to pay the bills?
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
All right, Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Boraski?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. That takes us to item 16, executive session, Mr. Clark. Did we have an executive session? No, we didn't even have an executive session. That takes us to the police report. Chief Whitney, you're up again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The board has my written report. I'll just kind of hit the highlights. We had 1,811 calls for service during the month of July. That brought us to 11,737 calls for service for the year to date. 87 of those calls for service in July were crashes. On August 14th, we had a robbery at the Fairless Hills Giant. Two actors took $43 in crab meat and threatened to shoot the loss prevention employee when they were approached. The actors fled in a gold sedan. Yeah, I know, crab meat. Yeah, it was crab meat. It was a retail theft that turned into a robbery because they threatened the use of force to the loss prevention officer when he arrived. On August 11th, this made the news a little bit. We had a domestic on Liberty Drive where the actor involved fled and a foot pursuit was initiated. Officers from our township in Middletown eventually cordoned off the area and caught the man. He was in possession of an improvised explosive device, which caused the Philadelphia bomb squad to come out here and take possession of the device, and he went to prison at an $8 million bail. Like I said, COVID has the whole population stressed, so that trend definitely continues. On August 3rd, we had a robbery at Beloved Studios on Trenton Road. The victim reported that he was assaulted by a total of 6 people. His wallet and his phone were taken. On August 2nd, we had a serious motorcycle crash on Lakeside Drive in Little Lane. The operator was taken to St. Mary's Medical Center in critical condition. On July 31st, one of our officers observed an individual stealing catalytic converters from a tow yard on Old Tyburn Road. Pursuit was initiated, resulting in the actor crashing. He was caught by one of our canines, Monty, and went to Bucks County Prison. Yeah, that our dogs have 2 catches this month. I'll get to the second one in just a moment. On July 30th, we had a short pursuit of a dirt bike on Old Route 13. Our officers terminated the pursuit in the area of Mill Creek Road. A white male wearing a white helmet and a red t-shirt was the person operating the bike. On July 28th, we had a pursuit with an arrest. The pursuit took place on Tyburn Road in the area of Route 13. The driver of the vehicle was caught and charged with DUI and fleeing and eluding and went to Bucks County Prison. On July 24th, we had another pursuit with an arrest. This one was on Philadelphia Avenue. The driver was arrested in possession of crack cocaine and had warrants for his arrest from other jurisdictions. On July 19th, we assisted the Pennsylvania State Police. They had a pursuit up on US Route number 1. The driver fled on foot after the pursuit terminated. Our K-9 Zico located the subject getting into an Uber on MY Lane, where he was taken into custody and turned over to the troopers. That's kind of the highlights of the calls for service. We did have our Youth Police Academy. We graduated 58 cadets at the end of July. The Youth Academy is a 10-week program that is brought at very low cost to middle school and high school age children who are interested in law enforcement. It's a great program. We didn't run it last year because of the pandemic, but we had great participation and a very nice program this year. And that's my report.
Excellent. Any questions or comments for Chief Whitney, Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, one question. The catalytic converter guy, do you believe that's the guy that's been stealing for a couple years, or is this just a one-time incident with this?
We believe he's one of many.
One of many.
Unfortunately, this is a very popular activity, a crime that's taking place all over the county and the state. There are numerous individuals that are engaged in this. Kind of like years ago, we saw theft of wire and copper wire and piping from businesses, residences, even Pico substations. That was taking place for quite a long period of time, and then, knock on wood, subsided. This catalytic converter theft wave is the current craze.
Okay, because people approached me about this, and I didn't have an answer for them, so I didn't know if this was the guy, or this is the ring that's going down, or this is an isolated incident. So
I wish I could say it was, there's one or two people responsible for this, but we've made a number of arrests and had a number of suspects in working with the county detectives and other law enforcement agencies that neighbor us, and it's just groups of different people, just like the thefts of pipe and wire were, several years ago.
thank you.
I actually called Chief Whitney a couple weeks ago when I heard a radio commercial from the scrapyard. I'm sorry. I called Chief Whitney a couple weeks ago when I was in my car. I heard a radio commercial from the scrapyard in New Jersey advertising that they accept catalytic converters. And I thought, like, what good could be coming of that, right?
Yeah, it's a shame, and in fact, we're calling on our scrap metal businesses that are located in Falls Township to cooperate and start reporting when people scrap things like that, so that we can better gather information and lead to arrests in these catalytic converter thefts, which are horrible. I mean, so we had somebody steal them from, it used to just be, lots and businesses overnight. We've had them taken from employee lots at businesses in town when people are at work. I mean, it's just insane, the magnitude of this stuff.
Now, I know we have the ordinance for the pawn shops and stuff. Does that cover this as well, Ms. Gallagher?
It does. We've been working with Sergeant Clark to notify the businesses that are affected, but yes, it does.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions, Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Boraski?
No questions.
Any public comment needed or questions? All right, thank you, Chief Whitney.
Thank you.
That takes us to manager comment.
Mr. Dents, if I could, I would like to amend the executive session report that we gave.
We didn't give one.
Because I was incorrect. We did hold an executive session on August 2nd to discuss personnel matters and litigation matters.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Takita, your turn.
We have there are a few letters of interest for various boards and commissions in front of the board tonight, if you have any consideration.
All right, these are newer letters, so I'm going to make some phone calls to some of these folks. I don't remember seeing all, I mean, I know there were so many at one point, we've been through them. I know we did a bunch last week. Does anybody else want to make a motion, or?
I never
Good
seen
right
any
now.
credentialed yet.
Yeah, let me go through this and then maybe next month.
Okay,
That's it?
thank you. That's it.
That was a fast one. This is the board comment, Mr. Boraski.
Yeah, I just have a couple things. I was kind of curious just to go back to the Elbow Lane thing. And do we have any kind of time frame for Elbow Lane, or when Lower Makefield would want to make a decision on what they want to do?
I believe Lower Makefield agreed that they want to do the section of Elbow Lane that we discussed, but they want to expand it and go around the bend and do Walton around the corner from there. So they want to expand on what they're doing. They did agree to Elbow, but it's going to be
Okay.
more than just Elbow. Is that correct,
Okay.
Mr. Takita?
Yes, that's correct.
So maybe a couple of weeks till we hear back from them again.
The Lower Makefield's board meets on Wednesday, and they're going to consider Walton. So I'll be speaking with Mr. Ferguson probably this evening.
Okay. And Mr. Takita, I know that the Tour of Honor is happening again this year, which I'm pretty sure you're familiar with, but I was curious if they reached out to the township at all for any kind of help, or Chief Whitney, do you know that? Were we planning on attending or doing anything for that?
I've not heard anything on my end.
Okay.
Chief?
I'll have to look into that. I did receive an email the other day from Ben Salem, but it may not have been that specific program. I don't want to give you bad info. I'll look into that and get back to you.
Okay. All right, thanks, appreciate it. That's all I had.
Mr. Galloway?
No comment tonight, thank you.
Mr. Palmer?
No comment.
All right, and I'm just gonna, I received a bunch of emails from residents telling me about mandates and stuff like that in Falls Township. I just want to point out that, there's nothing, we never mandated anything during COVID in Falls Township. That wasn't a decision that came from the township level, that came from the state and worked its way down. So that's not gonna change, and things everybody can see on the news are getting weird again. So we don't know, where we're going. I know in Philadelphia, they're requiring masks again. Right now, the county is not, and we follow the county's lead, so that's not a decision that we're gonna make on our own. If the county says that's what's gonna happen, then that's their decision. We're the state on down. Hopefully, we can get through this fast. We don't wanna go through this again, especially, our businesses and stuff. I mean, it was tough on everybody. And that's all I have, and with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.